What's happening, everybody? Welcome to episode number 1 of Sport Bike Riders TV. I'm really excited to be here today. I'm excited to get this channel started finally and bring you every piece of information that I can provide to make you all better, safer, faster, and more knowledgeable riders. This channel is going to be about everything related to sport bikes and sport bike riding. We're going to go over riding techniques and tips. We're going to be breaking down product information and product installation, tuning techniques and tuning tips and motorcycle suspension and geometry tips. We're going to be talking about how-to videos and how to get started in the sport if you're a new rider. Essentially everything that you could think of, we're going to talk about. And if you have any requests that I didn't mention or something that you want to learn about in the near future, go ahead and leave a comment or shoot me an email. More than happy to fulfill any requests and talk about anything that you guys want to in the near future to help make you better riders. The second part of this intro video, we're going to be breaking down a hot lap of Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California on my 2017 Yamaha R1. Basically, the bike is completely stock. It's got stock engine, stock exhaust, stock gearing, stock suspension, just a few aftermarket parts like rear sets, clip-ons, a steering stabilizer, and master cylinder. But essentially completely stock. It's got DOT tires. They're GPA Pro, so they're almost slicks, but just to give you an idea of what I'm riding, so you can kind of compare to what you're currently riding. And if you're a new rider to this particular track, hopefully this helps you be a little bit more confident on your first session going out there. And if you're a more advanced rider and just looking to improve your lap times, I think there's something you can learn from this video too. And I picked this particular video because I actually did make some mistakes on it. I ran a 1:33, which is a fairly quick lap time, but there's definitely some room for improvement on this particular lap. So I thought it would be a really good video to break down so that we can both learn from it. Hopefully I can become a faster rider from breaking it down, and I'm hoping that it will for sure help you become a faster rider as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go into the computer here and break down this hot lap for you. So what I would like to do now is break down this video section by section, corner by corner, provide you a little bit more detail of my reference points and braking markers and some of my lines. So let's go ahead and roll the video and get started here. So we're coming up onto the front straightaway. We're getting up into 5th gear as we cross the finish line. Now, coming up into corner 1 right here, I'm hugging this outside wall as closely as possible. We're going to be dropping down 1 gear into 4th gear, and I'll bring the video ahead slightly here. And at this point, I've already set up for the corner. My first braking point is right here, that first set of 3 cones. And again, we're hugging this wall as closely as possible. My body position is already set to the left prior to braking. What that's going to do is going to allow the bike to be a lot more stable throughout the corner and give you more corner speed as well, and more grip too. Let's roll the video ahead a little bit here. So at this point, I'm hard on the brakes, and this is going to be my reference point for a turn-in, but my eyes are locked onto this apex right here. So I'm using this reference point in my peripherals essentially. So let's roll the video ahead a little bit here. So we're pushing hard to the left. I know I'm going to hit this apex at this point, so I know now that I can bring my eyes up to the next corner in order to get set up for that corner. So let's move ahead. Now we're transitioning from left to right, a very fast transition. It's always important to start with your lower body first and then bring your upper body with it and put pressure on the handlebar kind of last in that transition. That's just going to provide more stability and also provide you a faster transition rather than just putting pressure on the handlebar as well. So we know we're going to hit this apex right about now, so we're pushing hard right, as hard as we can go. Now you'll notice my front end starts to push to the left. It's just some uneven in the surface, a little bit of bumpiness going on there. So my eyes are already up at this next apex, and I'm pushing as hard as I can to get the bike back aligned, and now transitioning back to the left. Again, lower body first, upper body second, and we know we're going to hit this apex. So now I'm looking through up to the next long left sweeping corner. And we're staying in 4th gear through this whole section. We're hard on the throttle, and we're going to get back down here as closely as possible to get set up for this next corner so that you can actually start pushing wider and stand the bike up so you can get harder on the brakes. If you are still leaned over and trying to brake hard, you cannot brake as much and slow down as quickly. So it's important to hug this inside line, and then as you approach this corner, you can stand the bike up and start pushing wider out here. So this first set of cones again is going to be my braking point, my braking reference. So you'll notice I start pushing the bike wider, and as we come up here, I would actually like to be a little bit wider, hugging this white line right here. And this cone right here is going to be my reference point again for turn in. However, my eyes are always on this apex, on the next apex. Okay, so we're seeing this cone out of our peripherals as a reference point. So we're dropping gears down into second gear, and we're going to hug this grass on the left side as closely as possible. I come a little bit wide in this particular lap, but typically you want to be dragging knee through here to get you set up for this next right hand and get you set up nicely for that next apex. So let's bring the video ahead a little bit. Again, we're transitioning left to right, lower body first, upper body second. This next apex is going to be a little early, so we're going to drag our knee on the rumble strip right there, and we're looking ahead to this next long sweeping left hand corner there. Now we're going to be shifting up into third gear, and we're going to hug this grass as closely as possible. And once we get up to this cone is when we're going to start pushing a little bit wider to the right, and we're essentially 100% throttle right here. Now in this corner, it helps a lot to have a GP shift set up on your bike. If you have standard shifting, it's really hard to get your foot under the shifter there and shift up mid corner. So if you don't have it already, I would recommend, setting your bike up GP shift. It's not 100% necessary, but it definitely helps with this corner. We're coming up into third gear. You can go up into fourth if you'd like. Typically what I've found is that third gear will run out right at where my braking point is, which is going to be this first set of 3 cones again. So we're coming up to the corner here. We're hugging the right hand side as closely as possible. Now I'm hard on the brakes as much as I can. And again, we're using this last cone as a reference point for turn in. I'm already starting to turn in slightly. And again, as I'm adding lean angle, I'm removing brake and trying to trail brake as long as I can through this corner. This 5 and 6 is going to be a double left. We're dropping down to second. Eyes are on this first apex here. Now, once you hit this apex, you're pushing wide out to the right. And what that's going to do is set you up for this next corner right here. It's a double hand left. So we're going to try and push wide and dive into this corner so that we're set up nicely for this short straightaway. If you come tighter here, you're actually going to run wide into this grass, and you're going to have to slow down to get your bike straightened out for the corner. So it actually helps if you do push wide in this corner and come back down and get yourself set up nicely for the straightaway. So for this little straightaway, I'm staying in second gear. I'm not transitioning my body at all. I'm still, have my butt off to the left and staying in second gear. And that way I'm already set up for this next corner. The straightaway is small enough where you don't need to really transition your body weight at all. We're staying in second gear. We're not going to drop down to first. This is essentially my braking marker here. I tend to brake a little bit earlier and trail brake longer through this corner. I found that it helps just carry more corner speed through this section. So as I'm coming through the corner here, my eyes are obviously here, but I pretty much know I'm going to hit that apex already. So I'm looking through to the next apex right there. And again, we're staying in second gear, and we're going to transition our body, lower body first, upper body second, and left to right. So this next little section right here is a little bit of a, not really a straightaway, it's kind of a long sweeping right, but you can get on the gas pretty hard. And I like to bring my bike out wide right here, coming into turn 9. And that way you can get your bike set up more straight so that when you're hard braking, you can provide more brake pressure and trail brake longer into this turn 9. Now turn 9 is a very late apex corner. So I'm looking through the corner, I'm trying to find that apex. You'll see it coming up, and my eyes are already up here at this point. And again, we're pushing wide to in very late, and we want to hit that apex as closely as possible and drag knee on that rumble strip. Now, in this particular lap, I could have carried more corner speed through that corner and used all of the track out here to the left. So that's something to, improve on in my riding, and something for you to think about, is carrying more corner speed through that corner and trail braking longer to get yourself set up nicely for this straightaway and reduce your lap time overall. So this next section, we're going to be bumping up into third gear before the chicane, and then right after the chicane we're going to be going up into fourth gear. So I kind of use this set of cones right here as a reference point. There's no braking involved in this section. We're 100% on the throttle. We're set up so that our butt is off to the right. We never, sat straight up on the bike coming out of turn 9 there. And the key to this section right here is essentially just hit this rumble strip right on the edge and try and go as straight as you can right through this section. And you'll notice that you kind of have to push a little bit wide to the right coming down this straightaway, but it's an easy transition. You can just move your butt back over to the left, get the bike set up so that it's pushing back to the left to set you up for this next right hand corner. So again, we're coming down this back straightaway right here. We're in fourth gear, and we're going to be downshifting twice into second gear. My braking point is essentially this set of green cones right here, but in between this set of cones right here and my braking point is where I'm going to be transitioning from throttle on to throttle off. So typically I'll do that right in between these cones right here and do that as quickly as possible. And again, I'd like to be a little bit out to the left here. Use as much track as possible to get yourself set up for that right hand corner. So we're 100% on the brakes now. As we're coming into the corner here, we're going to be trail braking, again using this as kind of a reference point for turn in. Again, I'm turning in slightly beforehand, and as I'm turning in, I'm releasing the brake lever ever so slightly as I'm adding lean angle to trail brake into this corner. So my eyes have been on this apex the whole time, and as soon as I know I'm going to hit that apex, we're getting set up for this very quick transition right to left. So again, lower body first, upper body second, and transitioning very quickly, releasing the brake and getting on the throttle slightly. It's more of a maintenance throttle through this section right here. And so it's important on this particular corner to kind of hold off on getting on the throttle hard. It tends to be very slick, and you actually are benefited by staying tight on this left-hand corner to get yourself up for this right-left coming up. So we're hugging this left side right here. I like to kind of use this transition in pavement. It's a little bit rougher over here and a little bit smoother over here. So I try to get to this left-hand side on the rough pavement and then get yourself set up for this right-hand corner so that you can take a more straight line, carry more corner speed, and then get yourself set up straight up and down so that you can brake hard into this next left-hand corner. So we stayed in second gear through that whole section. Again, this laid down cone is kind of my reference point as a turn in. You can also use a couple of these little strips right here as braking markers. So we're hard on the brake, and again, we're trail braking through this corner. Eyes are on the apex right here, and now looking through that corner, and we want to use as much track as possible, run wider here and try and hug these outside cones, get in between this line and these cones. That way you're using as much track as possible and have a fast speed corner exit. So this next section here is a double left-hand corner, and then it's going to be the front straightaway. But for this section, we're staying in second gear. We're going to kind of squeeze this apex. It's not 100% necessary to get as closely as possible, and you're essentially going to be running a little bit wider here. And I kind of use this little change in pavement as a reference point again. I like to either run right on top of it or maybe slightly outside as well to get yourself set up for that corner. And if you're in a race, that's going to be different too. If you have someone right behind you, you might want to hug a little bit tighter. Don't let them inside of you. But again, we're just trying to set ourselves up for this straightaway and get on the throttle as quickly as possible. So if you're coming out of that corner, you want to be straight up and down and as much as possible and get on that throttle as quickly as possible. So coming out of the front straightaway here, normally I wouldn't take this inside line. I'd be a little bit kind of out towards where this guy is, because coming to that corner, you want to carry as much corner speed as possible. But he was a little bit slower, so I decided to take the inside line here. So I kind of use this little line right here as a marker, just as a reference point to start pushing up towards the the wall, and you can basically run center of the track and start pushing up gradually as you come into the finish line in corner 1 to get yourself set up again. That's it. That's my hot lap of Auto Club Speedway. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, go ahead and hit like and subscribe down on the links below. Also, if you want to see that video at full speed with no interruptions, go ahead and click the link somewhere on the screen here. And until next time, we'll see you out on the track.